Hello, my name is Abraham. So I was going to, I want to talk about a coming up story where I had where I jumped the facts over the conclusion, and I didn't really thought about that too much. But what I really had with the first glance, well, he was my coworker, and we were working, and it was my first day in the shift. And at the first glance, he was really Asian, but he dresses like a Mexican kid. Um, and those who don't know how, like, Mexicans usually dressed, I usually, like, um, they usually wear, like, um Nikes with really tight shorts. And um actually, well, I do know how they dress, but just, like, I can't describe them. I don't know how to describe them, but I can just, like, end it like they dress like, a cholo or a no que me cut kid. Um, but and and they usually call him by name by Miguel. And I was really, like, really puzzled at first, because why would a Asian person that is really white would have the name Miguel? Is he trying to, like, really get accepted um as, like, a cultural race or ethnicity? I was kind of confused. And and so we were and so and so, like, almost at the end of the shift, my manager told me to take out the trash and to take Miguel with me. And so we were taking out the trash, walking together, and then we came to and almost end to the conversation. And I asked him, like, of why is his name Miguel? And he told me that his mom was a Mexican and his dad was a Filipino. And immediately in my mind, I was like, "Oh, that's why." Like, a mind blown. But um, but then again, like, I shouldn't, like, jump into conclusions because I thought he changed his name to really, like, get accepted by Mexican people. But really, like, he grew up in a Mexican household, which basically his mom is a Mexican. And and he was growing up mostly, like, with her mom, and really, like, starting to get, like, a sense of identity, Mexican identity, which he only learned part of his mom, but not his, like, father, because he did tell me that that his father divorced his mom, which basically, like, left him when he was a kid, and he never met his dad. And I told him, like, oh yeah, you should probably, like, meet him. You should probably meet him, or find him. He might be somewhere out there. He could be a millionaire or be a celebrity or some country. He said, yeah, maybe. And at that point, I just, like, I just thought, like, there's many people that could have, like, have different names, but different ethnicities. But then again, we don't know, like, where are we really from? Because there could be a there could be, like, a black person that is Japanese, but only speaks English. I mean, only speaks Japanese, but no English. Or Indian person that lives in Russia and only speaks Spanish. And so it gets really confusing of, like, why, like, these of who they really are, or why people are are labeled, or why they're the way they are. It's really, like, about the stories, like, you need to know, because there could be, like, a really, like, a long story, a big story, and it can be, like, really complicated of where they're actually from. But you shouldn't jump into conclusion of like ethics or where they're really from, because that can be from anywhere from where you think. And then, and the only difference is that, like, that we shouldn't, like, just judge by the first where we see, because there could be, like, a Nigerian person in in I don't know, in Russia, that speaks Russian, or they can speak Spanish, or Chinese, or Asian person in India. Like that, there could be like many things that we couldn't know, but unless we ask them, or we come out with the conversation, because we shouldn't judge from the first way we see. We should just, like, ask. We should just, like, become curious, because I was curious. I did judge, like, at the first glance, but it was my thought. It was my thought, like the mindset. But once, like, once, like, I was curious, I asked him of why his name was the way he is. But then again, it's something that we should think about. Think twice, and you know, I think talking to them would be a great sense. It wouldn't be a good idea to really just judge from the first counter.